Hello, Peter.
How you doing, Kurt? You okay?
How you doing, mate? Yeah, thanks for getting back to us.
Yeah, not a worry at all.
Is training going well with Tyson?
It's going very good. Everything's on schedule, and well, look, there's no second best. Everything's done here 100%, so we're ready.
With Cunningham, I mean, did you see his fight with Adamek?
Yes, I did.
I haven't seen one person who thinks Adamek won that fight, apart from Adamek himself, to be honest. Do you think Tyson's going to get credit after this fight? Because, they're going to bring out the same old excuses, he's a cruiserweight, whatever. Do you think they're going to look at the fact that, he did actually outbox a top five heavyweight in Adamek?
Yeah, Tyson, he will not get looked upon any better, no matter how he deals with Cunningham. They'll say there'll always be criticisms. He's a small heavyweight, he's a cruiserweight, and the usual crap, really. But
Yeah.
make no mistake about it, Cunningham is a very severe test. So Cunningham could give Tyson a very, very difficult night. He's capable of it anyway. He's good boxing skills.
Think he surprised a lot of people in the Adamek fight. People expecting him, not to be able to take a heavyweight's punch, or moving up in weight might slow him down. But I think everyone was impressed with him. I mean, I was, and I said going into the fight, if he could stay on his feet, I think it'd be a close fight. Well, in the end, I only gave Adamek about 3 rounds, I think.
Yeah, you got to give it to Cunningham. He's a top class boxer, and to be honest, he boxes a lot better in the heavyweights than what he does in the cruiserweights. But let me tell you, you've got to get it on them to start off with. And when you're a very good boxer and you're good on your feet and you can ride shots and create difficult angles, it's easier said than done to get it on them. Tyson's in the best shape of his career. We've had some very good sparring. We've got Kevin Johnson over here, kingpin for the awkwardness. We've got another top cruiserweight in Eric Fields, who's 21 fights, one loss with 15 KOs on his record. He's 210 pounds, the same as Cunningham, same height, and so we've got some good sparring. We've got four sparring partners altogether, and he's doing 12 rounds of sparring 3 times a week.
Peter, I do have a question for you. You're training Tyson along with Huey. Huey, really young guy, might even have some growth left in him. But what are you seeing between the two where there's similarities and there are differences? Whereas one maybe just topping the other, be it speed, power, stuff like that.
Um, at this stages of their career, Huey's a very, like, I would describe Huey as a throwback fighter. Huey's very tough. He takes shots and he'll come back in, and he's happy just to come forward and take shot for shot and stand and trade with you all day. He doesn't box that way because he's told to box clever. But basically, Huey's a fighter. He likes to fight. He likes to get stuck in, and he's a very, like, I'm not saying it's hard to describe. Tyson's a lot more of a technician nowadays. He slips. He's, whether it's because Huey's only just starting out or whatever in the pro ranks, but you can't put the two together. Tyson's obviously, he's been a pro now nearly 5 years. He's like 20-0, so there's a big difference. So I can't really distinguish really. Just to say that Huey comes forward a lot, and he just likes to have a tear up.
How tall is Huey Peters? Is he 6'5"?
No, I think he's between 6'6" and 6'7".
Yeah, yeah.
I've never had him properly calculated, but he was 6'6" about and 9 or 10 months ago, and I think he might have had another growth spurt, so he's probably around 6'7", something like that.
Is he back out on the Chad Dawson Stevenson card?
Yeah, he is. He's on that card. He's on. He could still possibly on this Tuesday in
Yeah.
Toronto. So we might have him on this Tuesday. He's on Tyson's bill. We've got another one for him on the 11th of May, and he's on in June as well. So he's busy.
You were talking about Tyson becoming more of a technician in the ring. What do you attribute to most to him becoming more of a straight boxing type?
Well, Tyson is a boxer, I'm not interested how he was training years ago, coming up as a young fella. I'm more or less interested in how he is today and what we've developed over the past 14, 15 months. And he's really he's really found a pocket where he belongs. He's in super shape, and he needs to be in super shape for the way he fights. And he's a fantastic athlete, and we've got his skills now to how he's suited in his body type. So you're going to see he's a very skillful boxer, Tyson. He's an underrated boxer. Until you're in front of him, people don't realise just how good he is.
Peter, you were saying when we spoke before a few months ago that you had noticed a big difference, even how far Tyson had come on in the last camp. Have you noticed a difference again, how far he's come on in this one?
Yeah, he's look for an improvement of around 30% on the Johnson fight. So he's improving his game. What you've seen in the Johnson fight, where you've seen plenty of leg movement, you've seen him behind the shoulder. Look to see in this fight very, very good upper body movement. And slipping the shots without moving too far away. He's got. You'll see a vast improvement in Tyson all round anyway.
We also have Andy Patterson on with us. Andy, I know you have some questions for Peter, so go ahead and fire away there.
Hi Peter, how you doing? Thanks for coming on, mate.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I believe you took over Tyson's training runabout just before the Rogan fight, and Tyson came out fighting as a southpaw. Just wondering why that was, and would you agree that before the Rogan fight that Tyson's biggest problem was probably his foot movement and his balance? Because I saw a massive improvement in his foot movement against Kevin Johnson.
Yeah, look, I'll tell you the problem what was with Tyson before we got old before I got hold of him. He had no balance, no foot movement. He was wide open to shots. He was throwing shots square on. You name it, this kid had all the faults in the world. But he had natural ability. He knows how to fight. He's got a heart. He knows how to survive and hold on when he needed to. And he was just basically winning 17 fights on just his sheer heart and determination to win. He had no training ethics at the back of it whatsoever. This is a young kid, come to me from punching a bag in the back of a shed, and training methods that came out of someone at the 12th century. So he's now being trained properly, and he's got balance, coordination. This guy now is a different human being. You've got a Tyson too, the Tyson now. The old Tyson couldn't even step in the ring with him for 2 rounds. That's the difference.
Wow. What was the main thinking? Obviously, I mean, you did say that massive improvements. I mean, I totally agree with that. What was the thinking coming out in the Rogan fighting southpaw?
Well, we knew what Rogan had looked for. Look, with every fighter, you've got to have a good team. Boxing is about intelligence. It's not about just getting in there. And, a lot of the times, brain does rule over brawn, doesn't it, obviously? And we knew very well after the Pychek fight, or what's his name, this Canadian here, we knew very well that everybody thought he was open to the right hand. And if they can get the right hand on him, he's over. So everybody was on the right hand trip and very happy with it. So I just said to Tyson, I made him go southpaw to take away Rogan's right hand. And when we did, Rogan had no plan B. He had nothing. So he was an easy target. So he got beat very easily because Rogan is only a domestic fighter at best. He's not a world-class fighter.
Yeah. How genuine do you think the £500,000 offer from Frank Maloney was?
I don't think Frank Maloney's got any money. If he's getting bids like that from backers, so probably is genuine. I have no idea. But Maloney, he said some insulting things about my family and about my fighter. So it's not about the money with me. So basically, he was told to fuck off, and that's what's happened.
Nice one. The other main story, Peter, is about Channel 5 potentially pulling out of boxing. Do you know any more about that?
I don't. I've heard stories, but look, there's no how do you say? There's no excuse me a minute. There's no let me put it this way. There's obviously something in it because we've heard all these comments, but Whether they are pulling out of boxing or not, I don't know. When I spoke to Mick Hennessy the other day, he said he's got a close relationship with them, and they're just doing some restructuring, and they're definitely going to be in boxing. Now, whether that's the case or not, I do not know. So we'll have to see, because I know as much about this as yourselves.
Just the other thing as well, David Hayes basically says, I think it was the last week or so, that a potential fight against Tyson's, no, it's not on the cards really. Obviously Tyson would take that fight if it came around, but do you think Tyson really needs to grab a strap in order to force that fight to happen?
No, I don't, because we've got it in writing from the IBF that after Cunningham, the winner faces the number one. He faces the number one for the who's in the IBF, which is obviously Pulev.
Right.
And the winner of that fight is mandatory for Vladimir Klitschko. Now, if that does not happen, and Hay takes Pulev, let's say, and the winner of that, then the IBF, I would imagine, would be forced to put the fight on with Tyson and Hay for the mandatory. Because if so that's basically where we're at. So I can only tell you what we've got agreements with. We've got it in writing from the IBF that this fight with Pulev is on for the mandatory after Cunningham.
I don't know if you've seen this, Peter, but Pulev came out last week and he said he had some talks with David Hayes' camp about a potential fight.
Well, maybe so. Look, we can have what we want in writing, but this is boxing, and anything happens. So I would personally like Hay and Pulev to fight, and I'd hope. I do fancy Hay to beat Pulev, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I'd like Hay to win and have a big showdown with Tyson for the mandatory position for Vladimir. That's what I would like.
That would be a big fight in England. That.
You know what? It'd be massive for England. We've not been in England for a long while now. So Tyson's earning his credentials abroad. He's doing the right things where he needs to be. And we're trying to convince people the right way, which is proving himself in that ring. And I believe after the 20th, Tyson will show exactly just how much he's improving for a heavyweight at 24. And if we can get a mandatory fight with David Hay, great, we'll take it.
There's an interesting fight coming up in the heavyweight division. It's on the undercard, the Amir Khan, between Audley Harrison and the unbeaten American Deontay Wilder. What's your thoughts on that, Peter?
I think it's a 50-50 fight. The experience obviously is with Audley. Deontay Wilder hasn't fought anyone. I'll tell you what it is. Deontay Wilder, he beat a guy the other day in his 26th fight, and he'd had 14-0 or 13-0. So in his 26th fight, the lack of competition Wilder's fought. I'll give you a good example now. We've tried to get that opponent for Huey at Madison Square Garden. The guy who he's just beat, who's had 26 fights. So it gives you an idea of the level of opposition he's fought. So Deontay Wilder is talented. He's got a good shot, but he's totally untested. So you've got to, on the experience side, Audley Harrison could take him to school. But if he gets caught, then he's gone. So to me, it's a 50-50 fight. Could be anybody's.
Now, Peter, just to circle back to Vladimir Klitschko, because whenever you talk about the heavyweight division, that's where we ultimately end up going. Tyson's jab has developed wonderfully over the last couple of years, and do you actually think, given that the size of the two fighters being relatively similar, do you think that come to that fight that you might actually go in there with the goal to beat Vladimir at his own game by working behind the jab in that manner?
We've got to concentrate on every fight we've got in hand. Cunningham's a dangerous opponent at the moment, but let's just move ahead then to Vladimir Klitschko. I rate Vladimir Klitschko. He's not where he is for nothing. He's an elite champion. He perfects his job. He's dedicated. He's got a lot of intelligence, the guy, and he doesn't waste his punches. And he ups his game to the serious threat of the opponent. So he'd be an awkward night for any heavyweight in the world. So Tyson has just got to do what he does best. He's got to use his skills, And I believe Tyson is a lot quicker. He's got a lot faster hands than Vladimir. So, and on the angles he gives, and also Tyson's become, you're going to see in the Cunningham fight, Tyson is extremely difficult to hit clean. You know, he's developed such defense skills, which we've not seen in the heavyweight division for quite a long time. So
Good upper body movement, yeah.
the upper body movement with the legs and the boxing, for a guy who can dance around the ring on his toes for 12 rounds, with sparring partners, one after the other, one in, one out. And, you know, they're going in there to do the level best, and they're not getting anything on worthwhile. It shows you the kind of the defense mechanisms he's developed. So I think Vladimir will have a fit with Tyson. I think any heavyweight in the division will have big problems with Tyson, because we've got more of a threat, believe it or not, with Cunningham than what we have any big punching heavyweight in the world. Because the big punchers ain't going to be able to land that big punch like they think they're going to land it. You know, with Cunningham, Tyson's got to really go to work. He's got to find the openings. He's got to create it. You know, Cunningham's a slick mover. And you can't knock out what you can't hit, can you? So it's going to be a difficult night. It can be a difficult night. But if Tyson catches Cunningham, it's good night. But if he doesn't, then we're in for a tricky night, to say the least.
The other thing you were mentioning, Peter, as well, that obviously Tyson goes abroad, does his craft learning abroad, and I mean, I also believe you've got a cabin somewhere between the Dutch and Belgian border. Who's he been training with out there, and how did the sparring sessions and that go with the Klitschko's in Germany?
Well, I can say now that the sparring with Klitschko's in Germany has never happened.
Never
Tyson's
happened.
never done with any of the Klitschko brothers ever. He's joined Vladimir in training camp when
Right.
Emmanuel Stewart was alive, God rest his soul, and he was just there really to come along in the camp, do a bit with Emmanuel on the pads, and just gain a little bit of experience of what it's like in a world camp, basically. But he never done no sparring with any of the Klitschko's, no.
I believe Emmanuel spoke very highly of Tyson when he had him over in training.
He did, you know, he's predicted, and he told Vladimir as well, this is a new heavyweight champion of the world coming up. And, you know, Tyson's got it in his head. He had a lot of time for Emmanuel Stewart. He liked him.
Yeah.
And he hopes to fulfill that dream. You know, so he's got a lot to go for. But Emmanuel did speak very, very highly of Tyson. Yes.
Kurt, go ahead. I know you got a couple more there.
Yeah, and Peter, I remember hearing an interview with you from a few months back where they asked you about David Price, and I remember exactly what you said. You said he hasn't faced anybody as a pro yet, and he hasn't been hit back yet or hit on the chin yet. And what's going to happen when that happens? Now, this was about a month before the Tony Thompson fight, so do you feel a bit vindicated by that? Because, you know, on Twitter you see Tyson was receiving quite a bit of abuse from a lot of fans who were saying, you know, he's scared of Price and Price would destroy him and destroy Hay and everyone else. So do you feel a bit vindicated by that result now?
Well, firstly, that we didn't want that to happen. You know, and I don't feel much vindicated. I don't like to be proven right with a fighter's downfall, you know, because I've been in the fight game all my life myself, and, you know, I feel for the fighters, what they go through in there. So basically, but, you know, all this hype, saying you this and saying you that. I can understand the fighter saying it because they have to believe that to get in there. But, you know, the people at the back of them and all around them saying you this, that and the other. He had not even been hit, that kid. And I could see things where it was obviously it was going to happen to him. So it was only foretelling what real people behind boxing can see. And don't forget, a lot of these people, they're stuck up each other's ass so far, yeah. They're worried to offend the TV, boxing deals, the friends with a promoter, and everything else. I don't give a shit. If there's something wrong with a fighter and I can see it, I'll tell you. So it was obvious. And when I spoke to other top leading trainers around the world, they said the same thing. They just won't come out and publicly say it. But he was a disaster waiting to happen. He was wide open. So it was obvious to people in the know. Only people don't really say it for the sake of some backlash. But obviously we're used to the backlash, so it doesn't matter.
And just on Cunningham, you know, I thought he was rattled by some of the things Tyson said to him at the press conference. And he's gone on to say, I think that Tyson, wouldn't have the same record or wouldn't be as good if he wasn't as big. I mean, do you think that's going to change his game plan, or do you see him, still trying to move, or do you think his words have made Cunningham, a bit angry and wants to prove a point?
Well, it's Cunningham's got some great trainers. He'll have a good game plan, and Cunningham's got to do the best he can do. But let's not forget one thing. We've got a guy in here who's a genuine heavyweight. He's 6'9". He's 250 pounds of solid muscle with 8.5% body fat. Yeah, we've got a severe, trained, honed, skilled athlete. Yeah, Cunningham is a skilled, honed athlete at 200 pounds plus. So there's a big, big difference. And I'll tell you this: Tyson has got just as quick a jab as he's got. He's got just as quick as hands as he's got, and he's got just as quick as footwork as he's got. So, he's going to have to bring something very, very special on the night to do any good. Don't think that Tyson is going to come out blasting as they're hoping, and he's going to ride the shots, and Tyson's going to be gassing after 4 or 5 rounds. They're dreaming. They're going to have to keep 100 miles an hour pace for round 1 all the way round through to 12 until we catch up with him, because we're not looking for a points win in New York. We're looking for a KO, and that's what's going to happen, with the help of God, obviously. So we'll do our best.
Peter, do you have any other fighters that you're working with right now that you're really excited with? I mean, I know we've touched on Huey and Tyson already, but any others?
Excited that I work with. No, I give plenty of advice to a few fighters that come into my vicinity, but I only work with my son and family, really. I've got a light middleweight and who's in Phil, but I only work with the family because of the regimes we got and the places we go. It's hard when you're taking the show on the road. It's hard to settle down in a gym and establish a gym of top fighters. And to be honest, I'm in it just to. I'm not in it for financial gains or anything. It's not my business. So I'm in it to get my family to where they need to be. Obviously, I've got my son, I've got Tyson, and I want them to just achieve the best they possibly can. So it's a family thing, this, more than anything. So I've got no other fighters that I can really, really recommend. There's a lot of good talent out there, but it depends who gets hold of them and how carefully they're managed. There's a lot in boxing, isn't it? It's not just the fighter. You've got to have a good team, good management, good promoters, and if one's failing somewhere, the fighter isn't going to make it. Everybody's in a position to fuck up the fighter. So you've got to have a complete team. And without it, how many young heavyweights and other talents in the world get wasted? So this is the thing.
That's a great way to put it. I mean, there are plenty of head cases, and so much goes wrong outside the ring. Inside the ring is just left aside. I got a UK fight to ask you a question about, because you seem really good as far as determining styles and picking winners. Who would you see taking a fight between Frampton and Quigg?
Well, they're both very talented fighters. I know Quigg. I've met him. I know his trainer Joe Gallagher quite well. They're all nice people, good people. I've met Barry McGuigan. Same on that side. I've got I've got to fancy Frampton, to be honest. I just think Frampton is very, very strong. He's got a cast iron chin. I've watched him all the way through his career. I watched him have a difficult fight with somebody called Robbie Tooley, a Welshman.
I've seen that fight, yeah.
And they looked at Tooley as a journeyman, but he's no journeyman. He's a very, very tough, good fighter, is Tooley. And I seen him hit Frampton then, and he gave Frampton never had the easy night he was hoping for. And I've watched this kid under pressure. I watched him, and in his last fight, he was no dummy, that fella who he fought. He come to win. He had a big knockout ratio, and he was looking for Frampton. He took the fight to Frampton just as he said he would. And, for him to just handle that, to handle the pressure, and, he was taking shots, Frampton, and, he wasn't having it all his own way. He looked like he was struggling there at times. It could have went either way, that fight. And to come out in the ninth round, keeping his composure and banging him out like that with one shot shows the level he's on. I see Frampton winning a world title. He's one of our special. He's going to be one of our special champions. He is for sure.
100% agree with that.
Quigg, there could be. He's a good fighter. I just see Frampton being an elite champion, and I think we're in for a very good ride for boxing in Great Britain with him.
Peter, how would you compare today's heavyweight division to maybe the 90s and the 80s?
Well, they're crap, aren't they? Let's just face it now. They get in the gym, they knock a few stiffs over, yeah? And then all of a sudden they're talking about world champions. They're not good enough to lace the laces up of them fighters of yesteryear. The only good fighter we've had in recent times, in his time is Lennox Lewis. But even Lennox, he got the fighters at the end of the careers. He didn't fight an in-prime Mike Tyson, did he? He didn't fight an in-prime Evander Holyfield, did he? All these fighters, when they was coming through in their time, was all great fighters, including Lennox Lewis. So I don't think the heavyweights of today are anything nowhere near as good as they was. Or, I should say, they're yet to prove themselves. But at the moment, no.
What do you think about? See if you could attain a prime Riddick Bowe and put him into today's heavyweight division, Peter. How do you think he'd have got on against the Klitschko's?
Riddick Bowe, I think he'd have done complete damage to the Klitschko's, and I think he would have been the undisputed champion.
I agree with that.
He was a complete fighter, and just how good was Holyfield, yeah? To come up against a Riddick Bowe in his pump from a cruiserweight and do what he did. He deserves. These are, Evander Holyfield, what a warrior, heart and guts. But Riddick Bowe, very underrated talent. I think he was one of the best fighters in the division in that era.
I agree with that. Yeah. I think he's one of the most underrated heavyweights of all time in his prime.
It did seem like he kind of shamelessly ducked Lennox, though. That's the one knock on the guy.
A great infighter, though, for his size.
Yeah.
Sorry, who was that?
Riddick Bowe, he was a great infighter for his size.
Yeah, look, I think when he was going, Riddick Bowe, he had a few mental issues, He was supposed to fight Lennox Lewis, and instead of that, he went and joined himself in the army. So, he just lost the plot, didn't he, with his... whether he was intimidated by Lewis or what, the only thing I can tell you, that when he laced a set of gloves on in his prime, Riddick Bowe could fight.
I also have the feeling that Bowe is probably sterile because of what Andrew Galata did to him.
Quite.
So, let me ask you this, Peter. Do you think, considering you have Tyson who's a solid fighter and other fighters that are coming up too, do you think that the Eastern European dominance was just an era? Or do you think that might be something permanent if we really don't start getting some fighters from the UK and the States really going in there to give them some good competition?
No, I don't think it's permanent. I think when the Klitschko's are gone, who have they got? There is no one. And let's not forget what the Americans know about boxing, the training methods they've got. Is second to none over the history of the years, including England. They've had some good fighters over the years. So basically, I think it's our turn to come back, but in the heavyweights, who is there at the moment? We'll have to just wait and see.
Absolutely. Does anybody have any other questions for Peter? I know that you're a busy man.
Just one quickly, Peter. May 25th, Karl Froch, Mikhail Kessler. How do you see it going?
I've got to pick Froch because it's in Froch's hometown. And I think if the judges go against Froch, they won't make it out the building. So, so I think it's got to lead me towards Froch, hasn't it? So
yeah.
No, I think I've got to edge Froch in it. But Mikhail Kessler's a very good fighter. And but don't be surprised if it goes to points and everybody thinks Mikhail Kessler's won and he doesn't get it. So it could be one of them.
Right. Yeah. Another close fight then.
Yeah, definitely.
Their first fight was excellent. I'm really looking forward to it. Peter, so before we go, do you have anything that you would like to say to all of our listeners, and maybe a message for Steve Cunningham as well?
Well, the only message I can give to Steve Cunningham is he's going to do his best on the night, and may the best man win. It's as simple as that. This is boxing. It takes a brave man to get in there. So we've got to do what we've got to do, and his camp's got to do what they got to do. But Tyson's got his intentions, and I can tell you they're not pretty. So we'll see.
Excellent. Well, Peter, we really, really thank you for your time, and we hope you'll join us again after a victory for Tyson on the 20th.
Well, we'd love to, and thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
mate.
Peter.
Thanks a lot, Peter.
All the very best. God bless you. Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot.
Cheers, bye.
Thanks, mate.